right, we're on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A B+ from Trevor for their offseason. As I've said a few different times here, I think their process and how they handled the quarterback situation, trading Kenny Pickett to the Eagles, and then signing Russell Wilson, pennies on the dollar, trading for Justin Fields for almost nothing draft-wise. Pretty good process given their starting point. Doesn't mean it's going to work out. Doesn't mean that they're going to have great play from Russell Wilson and or Justin Fields. But from what they started with and what they ended with and how much they invested in it, nice job there by the Steelers. And then opens up the ability to build the rest of the roster, which I think they've done a nice job of the last couple of years.
No, definitely. I think that those were good moves. That's as good as they could have done this offseason with the quarterback position. And let's be honest, whether it's Russell Wilson or Fields, they should be upgrades over, like, each one of those guys had a significantly better PFF grade than Kenny Pickett last season. Even if you just look at passing grade, Justin Fields was right there with Kenny Pickett, with the addition that he brings, a whole bunch of special ability on the ground. So either one of those guys should be a significant upgrade over Kenny Pickett, and it cost them very little to make that move, make either one of those moves. I mean, they're paying, like, Russell Wilson is counting, I think, less than $1 million or slightly over $1 million on their salary cap this year. So that's basically like a free player at the most important position in the NFL. And then Justin Fields cost them very little in terms of trade and is on the books for like $6 million. So very little invested in the most important position in the game, which should be an upgrade regardless of which player ends up starting for them this year. And then they did some work on particularly the offensive line. The only real sort of quibble or criticism would be trading away Deontay Johnson and then, whether that's a net win or not with Roman Wilson, the rookie, coming in and having to have a pretty significant role now to replace Johnson.
Yeah, so just to touch on the offensive line really quick, loved, 3 out of their first 5 picks were offensive linemen. Troy Fautanu, the tackle out of Washington, center Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. Fautanu probably starts at right tackle right away. That's where they're working him. Moves last year's first rounder Broderick Jones to left tackle. Zach Frazier steps in as a potential starting center right away. And then I loved Mason McCormick, the guard out of South Dakota State. I think he has starting potential down the line as well. So there's your culture play, right? Get back to the offensive line here for the Steelers. The question, though, as you mentioned, is wide receiver. They had been rolling 2, 3, 4 deep at the receiver the last few years, had done a nice job building that room. Now it's George Pickens. They've in a whole bunch of questions, right? Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, Calvin Austin III, and then is that Roman Wilson as a third-round pick? Is he the best fit there? I think he probably is the best fit to take over for Deontay Johnson, but it's a lot of pressure, I think, for a rookie.
And it's a little bit like, we talked about Greg Roman and the Chargers earlier. The offensive system is going to be pivoting in a new direction. It's going to be probably less wide receiver needy than some other offensive systems would be. This offense now is moving to an Arthur Smith variant. You have George Pickens, who should be the clear number 1 guy there. The need at number 2 might not be as acute in this offense as it is in some systems. And so maybe a guy like Roman Wilson can step in and be the replacement for Deontay Johnson, and it's all fine.
So they brought in Patrick Queen at linebacker as well. They've been trying a whole bunch of different options at linebacker the last few years. My one question on Queen, if you look at his career grades, we have a 29.7 as a rookie, a 43.5. Then Mike McDonald takes over as defensive coordinator for the Ravens, and the 43 jumps up to a 69.7 and a 73 last year. Queen looked absolutely lost in his first 2 years. Now, is that just him getting better, developing, getting more experience, or was it because Mike McDonald's playing to his strengths a little bit more? That's my one question about Queen, but certainly his career has been moving in the right direction these last couple seasons.
It also coincided quite neatly with the arrival of Roquan Smith in Baltimore.
And with Roquan,
so
for sure.
I think there's definitely question marks about what Patrick Queen looks like in this defense. Generally, this defense appears to be pivoting towards man coverage. I mean, they got rid of Patrick Peterson effectively because he can't play man coverage anymore. Joey Porter Jr. a year ago was a man coverage specialist. Dante Jackson, who they acquired this offseason, is better in man coverage than zone coverage. Patrick Queen theoretically gives you the man coverage ability to go one-on-one with athletes out of the backfield or a tight end. So this whole defense seems to be pivoting towards more of a focus on man coverage. That in and of itself is going to be interesting to watch.
I like a lot of what the Steelers have done, really, for 2 straight off seasons. We'll see if the low investment in the quarterback room, high investment in other places will end up paying off here.
Yeah, really good. I think a really good offseason, and I think you give them credit because, again, sort of, it has to be versus expectation, right? With the Raiders, it was, is Gardner Minshew better or worse than the baseline expectation of what you could have done at quarterback? I think that was worse. I think for the Steelers, they are better than their baseline expectation given where they were heading into the offseason.